Imagine waking up tomorrow and deciding you're not allowed to watch YouTube. No TikTok, no Instagram, no Netflix, no gaming, no music while you walk, no podcasts, no scrolling when you're bored. For 30 days, I decided to remove almost every form of entertainment from my life. And at first it sounded easy. I thought I would simply have more time, but what actually happened was much stranger. Because when you remove entertainment, you don't just remove entertainment. You remove the thing you use to escape boredom, stress, loneliness, and sometimes even your own thoughts. So this is what happened when I quit entertainment for 30 days. Day 1. The first day felt surprisingly easy. I woke up, made breakfast, and reached for my phone. Then I remembered the challenge. No YouTube, no social media. So I put my phone down, I went to school or work, came home, finished what I needed to do, and suddenly had nothing to do. Normally, this would be the moment I'd open YouTube, but I couldn't. So I sat there, and for the first time in a long time, I was bored. Not slightly bored. The kind of boredom where 5 minutes feels like half an hour. And that's when I realized something. I had forgotten how to be bored. Day 3. By the third day, I started noticing how often I automatically reached for entertainment. Waiting for food, phone, going to the bathroom, phone, walking somewhere, music, finished a task, YouTube, feeling tired, scroll, feeling stressed, scroll even more. Entertainment wasn't something I was choosing anymore. It was becoming the default response to almost every empty moment, and without it, those empty moments suddenly became huge. But something else happened. I started getting more work done. There was no just one more video, no accidental 45-minute TikTok session, no gaming until midnight. When I finished something, I actually moved on to the next thing. My attention started feeling less fragmented, but I still wasn't enjoying the experiment because my brain kept asking one question. Okay, what do we do now? Day 7. After 1 week, the cravings became less intense. I wasn't constantly thinking about YouTube anymore, but I discovered a much bigger problem: silence. Without music, videos, games, and podcasts filling every gap, my thoughts became impossible to ignore. I started thinking about things I'd been putting off, things I wanted to accomplish, mistakes I'd made, conversations I'd had, and questions about the future. Normally, I could distract myself from those thoughts within seconds. Now I couldn't. At first, it was uncomfortable, but eventually, I started realizing something. Maybe boredom wasn't the enemy. Maybe boredom was the space where your brain finally gets to process everything you've been avoiding. Day 10. By day 10, I started replacing entertainment with activities that actually produced something. I read, I exercised, I cleaned my room, I went outside, I worked on projects, I started writing down ideas, and this was probably the biggest surprise of the entire experiment. Ideas started appearing everywhere. I'd be walking and suddenly think of a video idea. I'd be eating breakfast and suddenly solve a problem I'd been stuck on. I'd lie in bed and think of something I wanted to build. My brain seemed to have more room, and I began wondering, how many ideas had I been drowning out simply because I never allowed myself to sit in silence? Day 14, 2 weeks in. This was when the experiment started becoming difficult again, because I wasn't just giving up entertainment. I was giving up easy rewards. Entertainment gives you something immediately. Open a video, instant stimulation. Play a game, instant challenge. Scroll, instant novelty. But real life doesn't work like that. Reading a difficult book can take hours before you feel anything. Learning a skill can take weeks. Exercise can feel terrible before it feels good. Building something can take months. Without entertainment constantly rewarding me, I started noticing how impatient I'd become. I wanted everything immediately. And that realization was uncomfortable. Day 18. Something strange happened around the 3rd week. I started enjoying simple things again. Eating without watching something felt normal. Walking without headphones felt peaceful. Having a conversation without checking my phone felt more interesting. Even doing absolutely nothing didn't feel as painful. My threshold for stimulation seemed to be changing. I didn't need something exciting happening every second, and that made ordinary life feel less ordinary. A sunset was enough. A good conversation was enough. Finishing a difficult task was enough. I wasn't constantly asking, what's next? Day 21. But there was one unexpected downside. I became more aware of how much entertainment is built into modern life. Almost every spare second can be filled. Elevator, phone, bus, phone, waiting in line, phone, lunch, video. Before sleeping, another video. We have created a world where boredom is almost optional. And maybe that's exactly why boredom feels so uncomfortable. Because we're no longer used to experiencing it. Day 25. By this point, my productivity had noticeably changed. Not because I was working every second. Actually, I was doing something more important. I was wasting less time accidentally. Before the experiment, I'd open YouTube for 10 minutes and somehow lose an hour. I'd check one notification, then another, then another. The problem wasn't entertainment itself. It was the lack of a stopping point. Now, when I had free time, I had to consciously decide what to do with it. And that tiny decision made a huge difference. Day 28. 2 days left, and surprisingly, I started missing entertainment. Not because I desperately needed it, but because I realized something important. Entertainment isn't inherently bad. Movies can tell incredible stories. Music can change your mood. Games can be genuinely fun. YouTube can teach you things you never would have learned otherwise. The problem is what happens when entertainment stops being something you enjoy and becomes something you automatically consume. There is a massive difference between watching a movie and watching 6 random videos because you don't know what else to do. Day 30. Finally, the experiment was over. I picked up my phone, opened YouTube, and watched a video. And honestly, it wasn't nearly as exciting as I expected. I enjoyed it, but I didn't feel that desperate need to keep watching. When it ended, I simply turned it off. That was the moment I realized the experiment had actually worked. I hadn't discovered some secret superpower. I hadn't become unbelievably productive. I hadn't completely transformed my life, but I had changed my relationship with entertainment. Before the experiment, entertainment was often my default. Now, it was a choice. And that might be the biggest lesson from the entire 30 days. You don't need to eliminate entertainment from your life. You don't need to live like a monk. You don't need to throw away your phone. You just need to notice when you're consuming something because you genuinely want it, and when you're consuming it because you're uncomfortable being bored. Because boredom isn't necessarily wasted time. Sometimes it's where your brain finally gets a chance to breathe. And maybe the real problem isn't that we have too much entertainment. Maybe it's that we've forgotten how to live without it. So if you had to give up one thing for 30 days, YouTube, TikTok, gaming, Netflix, music, which one would be hardest for you to quit? Let me know. And maybe try going without it for just one day. You might be surprised by what happens.